October Red, back with Eddie Hearn, that just did a horrific Birmingham accent. Please don't do that to our city again.
All right there, October Red.
Weathering storms.
Yeah.
But before we get to the storms, talk to us about this card, the first card in Birmingham for such a long time. Grateful that you're back in our
I
city.
want to shout out to Tom Dallas, actually, our matchmaker. I think he's done a really good job here. You know, one of the reasons for bringing him in, for a long time, I've been involved heavily in matchmaking, and it's difficult when you're doing a show a week to be across the entire card. But all I want is competitive fights, and all I want is the right fights for our prospect to make sure they get tested, and also they're in real fights and they're learning. And I think they've done that really well across this card. When you go to the main card, Jordan Flynn against Kane Baker, love it. Love Kane Baker. Like, look, he's never going to go on and win major titles, but he's a right good bloke. And he gives it 110% all the time. Now he gets a fight in Birmingham. It's very going to be a tough night against Jordan Flynn, who's a great young talent, but that's going to be a cracker to kick us off. I think Sol Dakers is a little bit of a, not unsung hero of the heavyweight division, but a little bit of a dark horse, because I think he's ready to fight Fabio and Adelaide and Fraser. And he would actually do it. I know he would. I like the fight with Thompson, who's a big lump as well. Conor Walker against Cyrus Patterson, great fight. Conor Walker, local guy, the B-side. Cyrus is coming into his backyard to fight for the English title, and Galao is Galao. You know, you're never going to see him screaming and shouting, but what you are going to see is one of the best fighters in the world right now, and looking to show his levels in his home city on Saturday.
What I like about this card is that you've got both home and away fighters that are from the city, really bolstering it and putting a bit of highlight on us for a change.
I think so, and also, it's just like, I feel like when you're building a fighter's profile, good to go into a backyard as the away fighter sometimes, like Cyrus. Cyrus just had his own next-gen show in Newcastle. Now he's fighting a Brummie in Birmingham. Like, you know, that's where you're going to get the best out of you. And sometimes it's good to have your back against the wall. Builds character. And it builds resilience in these guys so that when they step up to that top level, they've experienced being booed and being shouted at and, you know, shots missing and the crowd cheering and all those kind of things.
We talk about having your back put against the wall. Recently, like you said, we spoke briefly on it, Alycia Baum-Gardener, who's very active on social media, by the way. It's come out adverse findings again. You're kind of like in the highlight of it. I understand that you're not feeding your fighters literally, so you don't know what they're doing behind your back. But having those broad shoulders, it's kind of like 3 tests, kind of like back to back.
Yeah, I mean, we are making a conscious effort to increase testing. And actually, it was Alycia Baum-Gardener that asked for testing for the Lennard 2 fight. And sometimes, obviously, you know these fighters. So my immediate reaction is, no, surely not. Like, she's asked me for testing. She, you know, and she passed the test a couple of weeks before, and she passed the test 3 days after on fight night. It doesn't really, you know, but I'm not an expert. All I can do is make sure that fighters are getting tested as much as possible. In this instance, you know, it's like, well, why did that take 3 weeks to do it? You don't know. That's how long it takes. VADA, drug-free sport. It's all the same laboratory. It's all the same chain of command. It's all the same process. So, but people say, then what's the point in testing on fight night? Because you need to find out if a fighter had something in their system. You want to catch it before they get in the ring. But random testing is about testing at any moment. So, you know, Alycia needs to go through that and process and try and clear her name. We'll give her all the support we can, but she also has to be accountable for the test. And it's easy to say, you know, some people, it's, you know, Matchroom have done this. It's like, are you mad? Like, I mean, you know, we spend a lot of money. The biggest nightmare for us, from a business point of view, personally, is a fighter failing a drugs test. It's a disaster for us. So, you know, to think that, like, it is anything positive that comes out of it. The only positive thing is we are spending more money than anybody else on testing. No one here, through the media, goes to other shows and says, can I ask you a question? Is there any testing for this fight? And the answer will be no, there isn't. Sometimes they might say, oh, yeah, I mean, look at what's coming up. I know. I don't want to start, but Dennis McCann against Baluta. If you said to Frank Warren, is there testing for that fight? He would go, yes, UCAD. It's like, they're not testing Baluta though, are they? And they probably haven't tested Dennis McCann, but maybe because it's random. But they're not testing the opponent, apart from on fight night, which we all know generally is a waste of time. So what's happened is you got a fighter coming over. You, again, what you say, you don't know what a fighter puts in their body. Imagine a fighter you don't even represent. You've got no idea. But I don't know what the answer is other than to keep spending money, investing money in additional testing. Now, when that does happen, that has to be a good thing for the sport. But when there's an adverse finding, don't then come back and say, oh, it's another Matchroom fight. Obviously, because we're doing all the testing. So, yeah, disappointing, and very disappointed for Alycia. And she needs that opportunity to, like I said, clear her name.
Finally then, because I know that you push for time, one of the things, there's a channel called The Boxing Voice, Ness, an American channel, and they had both Alycia and Jessica McCaskill on the channel last night. And Jessica McCaskill, okay, your thoughts?
Absolutely the most wild thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, they'll be hearing from us today. But, I mean, what essentially, Jessica McCaskill said, and I don't mind repeating it because it's one of the most bizarre things ever, is Alycia had one fight left on her contract. So maybe this was Matchroom trying to disrupt her. I mean, are you absolutely... I mean, firstly, that is the most offensive thing I think I've ever heard in my life. And secondly, the most defamatory thing I've ever heard in my life for our company. You think a global business of our side that has aspirations to float in an IPO, what sort of process happens? You go to an agency that represents the NBA, the NFL, the NCAA, NASCAR, the LPGA, and make up a test result. Are you I mean, I know we live in a world of conspiracy theories, but that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. And I'll be speaking to Jessica because it's bang out of order. And if that's your line of defence, that's worrying. You have to defend yourself here, not say, well, I think Matchroom just made it up. I mean, what? I'm baffled, absolutely baffled. But,
Do you think there's any reason why she would have alluded to that? I mean, is there some truth in it, say, for example?
Rick Ramos is a wild guy. He says some crazy stuff. And it's like a conspiracy. They've got this conspiracy thing in boxing. She said that, I was in a purse bid situation and they gave my opponent to Terry Harper. No, what actually happened was we lost the purse bid and someone else won the purse bid and didn't put the fight on. So the fight became null and void. And in the meantime, we offered Habazin the fight against Harper at short notice because there was no fight with McCaskill. So again, I have to deal with them appropriately because I'm not having people talk about my family business like that. And it's wild. Absolutely wild. It's one of the most comical things I've ever heard in my life. This is a terrible situation for us, for the sport, for Alycia, and there is zero benefit of something so menial trying to, in the grand scheme of what we're doing in the sport. So, yeah, wild.
On that note, can you give us a quick rundown of a schedule of what we can expect from Matchroom in the next few months? End it on a positive, I will say that.
Yeah, we've got some huge fights coming up. Of course, Saturday night, and then we go into a really big run. September 15th in Mexico, September 23rd, great card in Orlando. Richardson Hitchens against Zepeda. Sandy Ryan goes against Jessica McCaskill. That'll be fun. Amo Williams against Steve Rolls. The September 30th, they're going to be a big fight in the UK, actually, a world title fight, which we're looking to announce this weekend. October 7th, you'll like that one potentially. October 7th, Wood against Warrington, absolute classic. The 15th looks like we're in Mexico. October the 21st is Catterall against Linares in Liverpool. October the 28th could be Haney against Linares in Las Vegas. November 4th looks like Monaco. November the 11th is All Being Well with Cyrus Patterson in Newcastle. November the 18th, well, that might be November the 18th. November the 11th might be Balanga against Munguia. November the 25th is something else. And then there's not actually a week off, I don't think, from September the 15th to December the 17th. So we're ready.
We like it. Thank you so much for your time, Eddie, and all the best Saturday night. Hi, and thank you for watching October Red Boxing. Like, subscribe, and tap the bell for notifications. You can also find us on Instagram at October Red Boxing and on Twitter, October Red UK. And remember, at October Red, we stay ready.